How are you guys?
Good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's for Big Little Eyes.
Oh, it is.
Oh, look at
Okay,
it.
well, we'll just start right off. Just a little. Any tidbits about the new season? What's happening?
I mean, I can't say anything. Do you know how much trouble I would get in? It's so much fun. It's so much fun to work with the kids now that they're a little bit older.
Right.
You know, to just kind of see how they. They're 2 years older. They're little. They're completely different than they were 2 years ago.
So
That's
whole
been
new dynamic then, huh?
Yeah, that's been really fun.
Cool.
Adults.
I mean, they think they are.
I've been on a boat before. That was about as much as I knew, really.
Same with me.
I didn't.
Nothing.
Nothing.
We learned to sail. I mean, I think it was important to both of us to really. You kind of hope that when sailors see this movie, they'll be like, "Oh, so you know how to sail." I don't know that they'll do that, but I think that was the great desire, was to make this movie for sailors and to make this movie for Tami, who's a sailor, and so I think it was a lot of hours on the sea of learning how to tie different ropes and learning the new language. So much of sailing is cerebral more than it is even physical. Learning the new, it's completely different Rolodex of words.
Yeah, it was a brand new terminology for living, basically. But I think what was great is that both Shay and I were kind of willing to kind of jump in at the deep end, excuse the pun. And we were also really fortunate enough to have a great marine team kind of supporting us and showing us the ropes, again, excuse the pun. I think when you're with a crew and a small cast, willing to kind of get your hands dirty and get physical, I think we were onto something good. So
I think we all have experience. I mean, we all were teenagers once, right? I think that every day is an opportunity or every challenge is an opportunity to either grow from that challenge or become consumed by that challenge. And I can't give you a specific moment because that would be very personal, but absolutely I can relate to, I think all of us can, to the feeling of complete surrender and the ability to trust whatever it is that you choose to trust that's within or outside of yourself to allow you to keep going because you don't physically have the energy to make it happen. Sailing's actually very hard.
really.
It looks romantic.
And I think that the problem is real sailors make it look really easy. So I think once we kind of got going, I think the first day I went out on a boat in Fiji, me and Shay were taken out on this yacht that you see Tami sailing at the very end of the movie, the real Tami. And we were sailing just in the harbour. I was sick. So a part of me was really worried about this film because we spent most of it on the ocean. But what I'd quickly realised is that not eating much and having lots of coffee is a really bad thing for a sailor. But also the day one of filming out in the open ocean, we managed to capture quite a lot of the sort of early storm sequence, like the kind of, as you sort of see the waters getting choppy and us tying everything down on the boat, we were surrounded by a lot of crew. There was about a key 15, 20-man crew on that boat. So it became very claustrophobic at times, but especially when the stench of sick rising up from the hull of the boat kind of crept into your nostrils, it got quite difficult, and it was a very choppy day. I think it was the worst day for swells, and that was our day, our introduction. So we kind of were forced to get our sea legs early in a great way.
A couple days were quite cold because we were filming in New Zealand in the middle of winter with cold water being dumped on us.
Ice cold
water. Yeah. Those days were quite cold, but for the most part, we were filming in Fiji under the hot sun day in and day out, and so there wasn't a lot of chill.
No, I think some days we spent more. Well, you especially spent more time in the ocean than out of it, and I think if you're treading water for that length of time in water, and you're not able to get warm in between, I imagine it to get very, very cold.
The water I thought was actually pretty warm though.
It was okay. I think if you spend hours and hours in it without the opportunity to kind of get out and enjoy the sunshine, I think you'd get cold. Like we had the stunt team and the marine team kind of supporting the boats were wearing dry suits and all sorts of layers underneath their kind of, just to sort of stay warm. But they were staying in the water for those 12, 14-hour days with very minimal break. So it can get cold, but I think generally we were very lucky.
I mean, filming this movie was definitely, I would say, up there and the biggest adventures I've ever been on. Every day felt like an adventure on this project. But I'm incredibly, I would say I can relate to her vagabond nature and her desire to see the world and immerse herself within different cultures and understand cultures from a local's perspective versus from a aerial perspective. Everything. No?
I love everything. I mean, I got to lay on the back of a boat for most of it. I was really happy.
Exactly. You're like, hey, why don't you go get some fish for me?
I was like,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was challenging, but when you get to see the sunrise and the sunset from the ocean every day, it's hard to complain about anything, and it's hard not to find deep appreciation and gratitude for the once-in-a-lifetime experience that you're witnessing alongside a group of really incredible individuals. So much of this movie was possible because of our crew. If we did not have the crew that we had, this movie wouldn't be what it is. We had people who disregarded seasickness, who chose humor instead of choosing complaints, who chose endurance instead of choosing victimhood, and that really made the experience fruitful for everyone. And I think there's a time for all of us when one of us would get tired or one of us would get sunburned, or there would be a moment of discomfort and someone would remind, we had this sort of unspoken pact to remind one another that we were filming a movie based on a story that was real. And that at the end of the day, we got to go back to our hotels and we got food delivered to us, no matter what that food looked like. We still had food.
little food.
Little food.
What did you eat?
We didn't really eat very much, yeah.
I think truthfully, as the sort of source material suggests, she doesn't know because she was unconscious. No one knows exactly how he was.
What happened?
Oh, okay.
So it's I think we what is apparent and what I think we've done artistically and the Candell brothers have done beautifully is kind of use what she sort of experienced and sort of said that she experienced like through the hallucinations and the kind of being isolated and on your own and having, she sort of claimed that she had a voice telling her to survive, to help her survive. I mean, in reality, of course, she did it all physically and mentally on her own, but there was something about the spirit of him that helped her through. So that's
and our movie is also based on the book that Tami wrote herself, and the way that Tami wrote the book, the format of it was past, present, sort of woven in and out of one another, and also the voice that Sam mentioned was the overarching theme throughout her book, and the script is a pretty exact adaptation to that. So there wasn't much artistic license from the screenwriters. It was mostly honoring how Tami herself chose to share her story with the world. Yeah, she was in Fiji for about 2 weeks, and I only saw her a couple of times. I don't know if your experience was much different, but we all went to lunch for the first time, and I had spoken and Skyped with her for many months prior to that, so we sort of I was comfortable around her, but meeting her in person, everything hits you on a new level of shit. I gotta do everything I can to honor this human and honor her story, and she's given me her trust, and now I have to just treat that simple gesture with the utmost reverence and respect. And my favorite thing that happened when she met Sam, she became speechless.
It was difficult because I like, for me, like, the one thing that I sort of said of my interpretation of Richard is that I didn't ever want to kind of mimic what he was or try too hard to kind of I suppose I try to be true to her viewpoint of him, her remembrance of him, but at the same time I needed to bring qualities of me into that role. And I think what really struck me and you know, kind of gave me some comfort is that when we met her, she sort of said, she just sort of went silent. I remember I was telling her the story, and it was a jokey story, and she just sort of went silent, and then she was like, I can't believe you are him, like you are.
You sound like him, you look like him.
You talk like him.
You
Yeah.
move
So
like
I think without trying, you know, there was obviously I possess qualities of this man. So there was something quite rewarding about, you know, doing that and kind of knowing that you touched a part of that person. So it's you know.
Like, sure.
I had a knife.
I have a spear. We had an amazing stunt team who really took the utmost care and precaution when it came to protecting not only us but the whole crew. But at the end of the day, we were filming on the ocean, and no matter how professional you are and how good at your job you are, you're in the open sea, and there's elements that can't be guessed, and there's weather patterns that shift quite drastically very quickly. And so I think everyone learned very quickly that we had to trust one another and take someone's word for word of precaution seriously. If there was a small chance of a threat, or if safety was at all questioned, then everyone really had to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think shooting on the ocean is obviously dangerous. Being on the ocean generally is dangerous, and you were also not only trusting everyone around you, you were also putting your trust in Mother Nature. And I think there were definitely moments where only in reflection you were like, wow, I probably shouldn't have done that. Or I mean, we were literally moving around a boat whilst it was sailing, coming through water on a ridiculous keel, and at times feeling a little seasick. I think what was amazing is that Bolt allowed it and allowed us to kind of speak up for ourselves, and he didn't, I wouldn't say pushed us into something where we ever felt uncomfortable, but would allow us the opportunity to push ourselves to our limits and to kind of make it feel as authentic as possible. So of course, at times we were literally alone. Well, when I was in the dinghy, I remember the wide shot, because originally I had people kind of, if it was a close-up shot, there was someone under the boat kind of just making sure I was okay, give me a float. But the wide shot, they literally had to leave me out hanging onto a wooden dinghy on my own, because they could capture a little bits of glimpses. Right. So I was like, okay, I'm fine. You know, I can swim, and I'm competent and enough, and I know my limitations to know that if I felt uncomfortable, I'd say so. And I think what was great is we had Bold, who kind of allowed us the freedom and the openness to be able to be honest when we needed to be.
I mean, I think the art of sailing taught me so much about how I don't pay attention to the elements on a level that I wish, in a way, I did. To be a sailor, you have to recognize where the wind, and it sounds simple to say, but I still, when it's windy, I go outside and I go, which direction is the wind coming from? It's such a foreign thought form to allow yourself to recognize where exactly the wind is hitting you and when the wind shifts, and you're forced to constantly be in communication with nature, with the wind, with the current, and I think it's just that language that I wish I had more of a connection to.
I think what my experience of going through this journey, like that, one thing I will say about myself is I'm not a sailor, and I don't think I ever will be. But I really fell in love with the water. As long as I could see land. I think there was just seeing how drastically different the ocean was on any given day. Like one day it'd be choppy as anything, the next day it'd be like glass, and you wouldn't see a wave all day. I mean, it was just incredibly, for me, just eye-opening. And I was about to say we have no control over Mother Nature, but in a way we do. Like, of course, with global warming and everything going on, that's partly to do with us as humanity. But I feel like there are many elements to Mother Nature that we don't fully understand, and she is, we are a slave to it. And I think I really appreciated. And I think that's partly to do with the location that we were shooting. Fiji is a beautiful place, so when you're surrounded by these, as Shailene mentioned, about beautiful sunsets, you just can't, the beauty was perfectly captured, I think, and I think Bob, the cinematographer, managed to kind of capture those beautiful moments in it, and to live through that was amazing.
If you get
The
lost,
North Star is wherever my Google Maps tells me. No, I think I'd be okay. I think I'm much more resilient than I once thought I was. I was a Cub Scout. Like I know I'm a survivor to an extent. I've never been put in that situation. It's hard to know how you will deal in a given circumstance. Like I'm sure Tami, for example, wouldn't know that she could survive 41 days at sea on her own before you're put in that circumstance. So it's difficult to know what your body can be pushed to until you're put in that. But I'd like to think that I could do okay. I think you'd be fine. I think you'd be 100% fine.
I'd like to think that I would be.
You would be. Knowing you, I think you're probably more resilient than I am.
No, definitely not. I think the biggest key to survival is just your mental ability to I don't know. When you're in that situation, who knows? I think I will say though that Tami's survival is, I would not be able to survive at sea the way she was because I don't know how to use a sextant. And so much of our lives now are dependent on technology that we're not actually taking the time to utilize the tools that ancient navigators or mountaineers or seamen people who live in the woods, whatever, that they utilized. And when the boat, when the accident happened the way it did, and all of the electronics went down, if she hadn't known how to use the tool that cross-references the sun with the horizon or the stars with the horizon, then she wouldn't have made it. And so as strong as she was mentally and as much endurance as she also had this skill set that wasn't dependent on technology.
You died quite tragically very well. This is like the fourth film where I'm like, damn it!
I've just got that face that people want to kill.
Is there a trick to
I don't know. Do you know what? In all honesty, I knew this would come up at least one point because I think there is a recurring theme, and but it's not through. I just love the stories that I've worked on, and I've read stories where I don't die, but for whatever reason, I'm drawn to things that have an emotional punch. And it's usually because I die. I get really teary when I die.
We don't want you.
People are just going to stop watching because they don't. No, but I think honestly, I do genuinely love the stories that I've worked on, and that's whether I, with a great, interesting, three-dimensional character and a new challenge. The dying part is I died differently this time, so it's challenging.
Each time you died differently, so there's that.
But yeah, no, there is no pattern for me. It's just the way it's happened to be. I'm the new Sean Bean. What can I say? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that this is the time or place to get into that, but I will say that I think it's beautiful that women and men are uniting to have conversations about a lot of things that for a long time people felt there wasn't the space to have those. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.